Hey guys. Hey guys. Hey, it's been a while since I got on this channel making any videos. Hi Elvin, thanks for dropping by. Yeah, you're first. Okay, so as you can see, this room setup is a new setup. I've been working it since the beginning of December. In fact, when I was away for a short holiday, the work was still ongoing. This space is actually carved out of an existing space at home. Hopefully this is a lot better and it still allows me a lot more space and flexibility in testing any of my speakers. Something is playing in the background and that's the Sony PS5. Let me just lower the volume a little bit. Yep, that's the Sony PS5. I'm in the midst of playing GT7, Gran Turismo 7. Okay. Let's see, maybe we just wait a bit now. We have people streaming in to the feed right now. And today, what we're going to be talking about is, let me just get to it. This soundbar right here, the Sony HT-A3000. It's an Atmos capable soundbar, Dolby Atmos capable, and I'm going to light it up right here. I have it installed right here. This is below an LG CX TV. I actually have a Sony Bravia TV, which unfortunately, because of the design of the console, I could not fit it into the wall mount. So we will be talking a little bit about that TV in just a while. But basically, this is not a Sony TV, so we lose out on the center acoustic sync. So let's talk a little bit about the Sony soundbar. Okay, so if any of you need to leave a comment in the comment section, you do need to be subscribed to the channel. So if you're not yet already subscribed, do click on the subscribe button. And yes, thanks Elvin. I like the studio as well. The setup looks pretty cozy. Well, actually the view that you are having, which is this angle right here, it looks neat and tidy, but not that angle. So that angle is still a little bit unkempt and it's a little bit messy. But that's the back wall, that's the rear wall where the surround speakers of the Sony A3000 soundbar will go. Okay, let's talk a little bit about this Sony soundbar. The Sony HT-A3000 is the entry-level kind of budget soundbar from the HT-A series, right? Home theater A series of the Sony. So in the A series, you have the 3000, you have the 5000, and the A3000, A5000, they are newly launched as of this year, which follows from the HT-A7000, which was launched last year. Now today is the 31st of December, so just bear that in mind. And there was also the Sony HT-A9, which is basically 4 speakers, and they look something like that. So there are just 4 of these speakers for the Sony A9, but that's not what we're talking about today. Today we'll be talking about the HT-A3000. Okay, so do we have more people on the channel right now? Yes. How many people are watching this right now? Actually, 14. Okay. Well, Happy New Year to you guys. If I'm still in time, I am definitely in time. Today is the last day of 2022. So we'll see you all 2022 and hope that 2023 will be a better year for everyone. I know I haven't been regularly posting content within the last couple of weeks, within the entire December. So this is the last video I'm going to squeeze in for the month, which is actually the 1st for December. But it'll be the last video that I'm going to squeeze in for 2022. So 2023 seems to be a better year. I'm getting into a few other brands and Sony is one of them as well. So besides talking about the Sonos soundbars that I've been talking about on my channel, I will also be talking about other Sony home theater products. So HT-A3000. Okay, very quickly, let me just go through a couple of things. Now, this live stream is not a live selling stream, but Sony has actually granted a promo code. So if you go to this stream here, this basically this URL right here below the screen now, you will be able to apply a promo code, and the promo code is just listed here. It is Peter100 off. Now, if this is too long to type out, you could just scan this QR code right here. This QR code will bring you to the Sony website, Singapore Sony website, where you can knock $100 off any of this combination here. You have the HT-A3000, HT-A5000, or you could buy the bundle with a subwoofer, SW3 or SW5 subwoofer with the Sony A5000. The A5000 is a higher end model from the A3000, all right? But let me just focus a little bit on the A3000 today. All right, so I will come back to this QR code if you need the QR code in just a little bit. Okay, hi Xylon. Any questions, guys, if you have on sound systems in general, on the soundbar, specific to the Sony HT-A3000, do just type it in the chat and I will be able to help answer if I can, right? Basically, I'm just trying to share my experience that I had with the Sony A3000 soundbar. It is a small soundbar, right? But it is not the smallest of soundbars, right? You have other brands like the Bose or the Sonos soundbars, for example. They are entry level. For example, the Sonos Ray and the Sonos Beam, as well as the Bose Soundbar 600. They come in pretty short, just slightly over 2 feet, all right? So if I were to go on to this, I will talk about this in just a little bit. Okay, here. Okay, so I've put down some talking points here, and I'll go through the talking points in just a little bit. So the A3000 soundbar is 950 mm wide, so that's 95 centimeters long, and this is just right here. Okay, so for a budget, for a entry level soundbar, it is actually over 3 feet is not common, right? Because most entry-level soundbars, they come in at just over 2 feet, right? Like those soundbars that I've mentioned. So over 3 feet, it is actually uncommon for an entry-level soundbar. And why are wide soundbars important? Because the wider they are, the further the speakers will be placed. So your left and right stereo imaging will actually end up better. And oh, corporate breakout couple. Hi. Thanks for joining me on this feed here. Okay, so I was just talking about the length of this soundbar. So the A3000 is the entry level, and it is at 95 centimeters wide, over 3 feet, 3 feet and maybe 3 inches, give or take a little bit. Okay, and this particular soundbar here, now we keep calling it the Atmos soundbar. But if you look at the box, this is the box that comes with it, okay? It advertises here, right, am I pointing at the right place? Yep, Dolby Atmos and DTS:X. So there are two competing 3D audio standards out there in the market. Dolby Atmos is one of them. Dolby Atmos is probably very commonplace right now. And thanks, I like my studio setup as well. I spend really a lot of time and a lot of money, okay, but trying to set this space up. I'm still in the midst of it, still trying to pull some things in and arrange some things. And I realized I have just too many soundbars, and some of them are actually lying around, and one of them is even on the floor right now. Okay, but let me get to this. So Dolby Atmos and DTS:X, it supports both together, right? So you might be familiar with Sonos. Sonos has always been supporting the Dolby Atmos, well, at least in the Dolby Atmos capable soundbars like Sonos Arc or the Sonos Beam Gen 2, but they don't have official support for DTS. Well, they do support DTS formats, but not DTS:X format, which is the 3D audio equivalent of Dolby Atmos. But for the Sony A3000, it is able to support both Dolby Atmos and DTS:X. So that's an important point. Now, for those of you who are also familiar with some other soundbar systems or even the Sonos system, you will notice, you will realize that, say for example Sonos, right? They have room correction, which in their language and in their world is a form of room EQ, right? They call it TruePlay, and it requires you to use their Sonos app, either the S1 or the S2 app, and it has to run on iOS, right? So Apple devices, some iPads, the older versions of the iPod Touch, as well as the iPhones, right now they support up to iPhone 14, but the latest, or rather the earliest phone that it will support, I think of this point, is the iPhone 7. Now you need an iOS device in order to run room correction. So you're supposed to wave around the room, and it will map out the reflections in your room, it will map out the frequencies in your room, and it will compensate those frequencies, either pull it down a little bit or boost some frequencies a little bit. Now through room correction, it actually pulls down the frequency a little bit, all right, in order to make sure that there is no artificial bass boom in your room. So how Sony does this? All right, Sony has room correction that is built in. Now, if you go into the setup for the Sony A3000 soundbar, there's actually a section. Let me just very quickly try to see if I can run through that. You will be able to go to the setup. Yes, it comes included. There's a remote. There's also a music center app that Sony provides where you can make these changes, but you don't actually have to touch the app at all. For example, now I'm not even touching the app, all right? And you can then go in and do the setup. Now, this is sound field optimization. It performs measurement and optimizes the sound quality, right? So when you click on it, right, and you do a start, it doesn't require you to use a phone. It doesn't require you to basically touch any software at all, right? Everything is built in to the soundbar. I have the soundbar connected with the surround speakers, right? This is the smaller surround speaker. There's a larger one that is here. I'll talk about these surround speakers in a while. And right there, the big black box is a subwoofer. This is the SW5 subwoofer. Now, everything is connected, and all you need to do is to place the speakers in the right placement, and you can start. Okay, you'll play a series of tunes. And that is done, all right? So the room correction is built right in. You don't need any app. You don't need any mobile phone or any mobile devices to run the room correction. The mics itself will pick up the speakers with their respective positioning, and you will be able to get optimized sound according to your room. And this is important, right? Because sometimes when you go into a store and you try to demo some sound bars or any sound equipment, the sound equipment has been tuned, right, to the space that you're listening to in the store. But when you go home, your layout is going to be slightly different. The positioning may be a little bit less than ideal. There may be hard surfaces on your door, on your walls as well. Maybe you don't have the curtains fully drawn up, and that could impact sound, right? So sound field optimization takes that out of the equation. It actually starts measuring everything. After, it will play a slight demo. And that is the conclusion. So if you do move your things around, if you do move your speakers around, including the rear speakers, you will need to redo the tuning for the sound optimization, all right? So good thing, you don't need a phone, you don't need any, it's just basically you just sit down there and you start measuring out your room. Okay, the next thing that I have to tell you guys about is this thing called the acoustic center sync, right? So if you go down the list, I've done room correction. This is acoustic center sync. Now, acoustic center sync, if you go to the back of the soundbar, right? If you look at it, there is a 3.5 mm not RCA, 3.5 mm phono port, right? In the box that comes with the A3000 comes a cable, right? This cable is a 3.5 mm to 3.5 mm. The other end, which you plug into your TV, it has to be a Sony Bravia TV. Any recent Sony Bravia TV, if they have this feature, it enables the soundbar to actually output the center channel. Basically, that's where the dialogue comes out to the TV, and the TV, the screen surface, will actually act as a center channel speaker, and the center channel dialogue will then come out from both the TV as well as the soundbar, lending more clarity to the speech in your movie or whatever you are watching. Okay, so we have a Wendy. Inbuilt room correction seems a better idea than using the handphone and the app. Might even be more accurate. Okay, accuracy is, I would say, debatable. Okay, I think every implementation from every major vendor has its advantages and its own disadvantages as well. Now, the fact that you have a phone and that you're using an external device means to say that relative to where you're sitting, the speakers will actually tune it according to where you're sitting, right? So if your main listening position is here and I'm holding the phone right here, the speakers, that relative position is all accurate. But if you don't have a mobile, if you don't have a phone, this particular implementation that Sony has gone for, it measures itself relative to the other speakers without considering where you're sitting, right? So it doesn't really know where you're sitting, but what Sony has done, okay, is there's a sound field adjustment. So this feature, sound field adjustment, I do realize that you might not be able to see that clearly because it could be out of focus, but you can set the direction of the sound field, right? So you can adjust your sitting, whether you're closer to the soundbar, or whether you're in the middle point, or where you're closer to the back, okay? So let's say I'm right in the middle. The next step is actually whether you are closer to the left rear surround or you're closer to the right rear surround, right? So the implementation from Sonos, for example, it will actually be able to tell the distance already by measuring the response of the tweet going off in the surround speakers or in your main soundbar to the mic that is in your phone, right? Whereas this implementation, it doesn't really know where you are, but the very fact is that it takes out the whole variability of where you're sitting and how you're waving and moving around with the phone, which changes every time you perform true play, right? So this one doesn't matter. You just keep quiet, sit in where you are supposed to be sitting, and let the soundbar do its job of sound field optimization. So that is all there is to it. So and it doesn't exclude, say, Android users from enjoying this feature. Sound correction, room EQ correction, whatever you call it, is actually a pretty important feature, I must say. Okay, so let's talk about the acoustic center sync. So this acoustic center sync, let me just get out of it, okay, will actually enable your center channel to output to the TV so that it's able to play dialogue from both the TV as well as the soundbar for enhanced dialogue, right? So if you are using a Sony TV, then more power to you. I think that's when you will truly get the maximum benefit out of using an A-series soundbar, right? In this particular case, the A3000. Let me just get back to this screen. Okay. So any questions, please, guys, just go ahead and shoot them, okay? Yeah, and so this is the 360 spatial audio mapping, right? So what it does is when you have all the setup done up already, you have the soundbar up, you have your surround speakers set up, it will actually be able to compute and map out where the phantom speakers are. So if you look at this particular picture, there are upward firing speakers, there are side speakers, there are left, right, center, right? You don't actually have that many speakers, but it is able to perform computational audio and basically map out these phantom speakers. So it's like if you have a stereo, for example, left and right speaker, and there's somebody singing, usually you will feel that the voice is locked in to the middle, although there's no channel, there's no speaker, no actual speaker in the middle, right? So it computes it that way. So from a whole array of phase calculation, Sony is able to recreate that sound view, right, throughout the entire room. And because the A3000 does not have upward firing channels, then you might be wondering, how does it then create the Atmos overhead effects, the height effects, right? So it's the same thing. It is computational audio. It will use phase computation to actually trick, right, and create a sensation, trick your brain and create a sensation of height effect. Okay. Okay, so this is a cutout of the entire A3000 soundbar. You might notice that it is marketed as a 3.1 soundbar. Let's see, yep. So here it says it's a 3.1 channel, right? And you're wondering, what is 3.1? What? Well, there is the 0.1 used to indicate for the subwoofer, right? So on this speaker here, on the far left and the far right, those are the left and the right channel. And right in the middle, let's see whether I'm pointing the right thing here, right somewhere in the middle here, this will be the center channel, right? So you have your left, center, and the right. And there are two more drivers that are flanking the center channel driver. And these are actually the built-in subwoofers. Now, it might be a long shot to call it subwoofer, and it might be a long shot to think that with this soundbar you don't need a subwoofer. I have it paired to the SW5, which is a large subwoofer, 300 watt subwoofer. Okay, and you need that, right? Because you're not going to expect these small drivers, small subwoofer drivers, to deliver any significant amount of bass, right? So your bass is definitely going to be better if you do have a dedicated subwoofer. We'll talk a little bit more about the subwoofer in just a bit, all right? But the subwoofers are actually ported, and so if you look at the sides of it, right, the sides, they have ports, and you will be able to see it right here as well. These are the ports that will allow air to come out from the subwoofer. Okay, so promo code is done. Connection options, very good. Let's get to this. Maybe, Ethan, how am I going to answer this? HDMI audio jacks? Okay, we could look at the rear panel here, but I think the picture is a little bit small. So let me just go through here. Yep, the soundbar is Bluetooth capable. So some of you who are familiar with Sonos will keep lamenting that Sonos actually doesn't have Bluetooth. So yeah, Sonos has Bluetooth in the form of the portable speakers, which is the Sonos Roam and the Sonos Move, but the rest of the lineup from Sonos, no Bluetooth. Right? This guy here, the A3000, has Bluetooth connectivity, and not only that, it has LDAC. All right? LDAC is a form of Bluetooth connectivity which is higher bitrate that goes up to 990 kbps as opposed to the regular, I think 384 kbps for regular Bluetooth audio, right? So that's one way. You have your regular Wi-Fi streaming, so you can do Spotify Connect as well. You also have AirPlay 2. So AirPlay 2, as long as you are using a suitable and compatible iOS or Mac OS device, you will be able to stream over AirPlay 2 to the soundbar, right? There is optical input. In terms of physical hardware input, optical input, there is USB input, there's a HDMI input as well. There is no 3.5 mm analog input, right? So there's no analog. You might see a port somewhere in the middle, right? That looks like a 3.5 mm, but that 3.5 mm is to output the center channel to a compatible Sony Bravia TV for the acoustic center sync, right? So yes, HDMI you have, but no audio input. Optical, yes, and you can plug in a USB thumb drive or whatever drive you call it, a flash drive through USB. You will be able to play media files off that as well. Okay, if I could pull up the menu, if you look at this menu right here. So there you go, you have your TV, which goes in via the HDMI eARC. So this is eARC, not the regular ARC. eARC has full bandwidth support for full HD Dolby Atmos support. All right, Bluetooth audio, USB, Spotify, Chromecast. It has Chromecast built in as well. And there's 360 reality audio. 360 reality audio is something that I haven't been playing around much with. You do actually need encoded material in order to enjoy it, and you need to sign on something. Okay, so I hope to have answered your question, Ethan. Okay, we have optical, USB, yep. Okay, beyond that, there is the Smart Assistant. So Google is supported here, Alexa is supported here. It has a built-in mic on the soundbar itself, so you'll be able to actually take connections, take instructions via voice. Now I've got actually stopped using Google Assistant for quite a bit already, because there are so many Google Assistant that's baked into all the devices, and I start getting confused about who is responding to what. So most of the time I'm just doing it on my iPhone, and the iPhone does you know, the hey whatever, okay, and it works for me because the phone is with me almost all the time, including the watch. Okay, now the last point, if you guys have no other questions, the last point I'm going to be talking about is the modular concept. Oh, before that, I think I missed something out, and this is the remote. Okay, I sort of mentioned briefly earlier, and if you saw me how I was interfacing with the soundbar, I was actually going via a remote control. This is an IR-based remote control. It takes two AA batteries, which Sony has supplied. Sony makes batteries as well. So everything is in the box, and it goes directly. You are able to control everything from this remote, right? You can definitely link, run music Central, whatever, okay. Basically the Sony software. Let me see if I can get it up. Sony, yep, Music Center. It's called Music Center. You can run it from there, and you can do some setup and settings from there. But basically with this page and the TV connected, you will kind of be able to control the entire soundbar from the remote itself. Now, there are a couple of things that I want to mention. Of course, volume control is definitely going to be here. But let's take a look at this. Let's see whether you can see here. All right, let's get it in focus. Okay, so you have this is the subwoofer out, and this is the rear out. So you can control the subwoofer output directly from the remote, and you can control the rear levels, rear volume directly from the remote. The middle one here is for volume control. So you can't really control center channel. Like I think Bose actually allows you to control center channel output, but everything is relative, right? So you can bring down the rear levels as well as the subwoofer levels directly from this. And there's a small LCD, or rather a small indicator, LED based indicator, right, that you can see. Now my subwoofer is set to, it was set to level 6. It goes up all the way to 15, oh no, sorry, max of 11, then 12. 12 is the max. And usually I have it set to 6. So right out of the box, by default, it should be at level 8, right? And the surround levels, you can also set. Mine is set to, let's see, yep, correct, it's 8. I left it as standard from there. Okay, so yep, the remote, it actually pretty much does whatever I want. And if that light is starting to get irritating, you can actually dim it to dark, or you can turn it off, so that when you're watching a movie in a dark room, it won't actually intrude on you. Or you can just set it to bright if you need to know whatever is going on the soundbar at any point in time. Okay, now to the important part, modularity. Oh, Alvin. Before I talk about the modularity, let me just take this question. Quick backtrack a little bit on connectivity. Is it HomeKit compatible? Meaning, will this show on HomeKit app? That's a very good question. I'm not a big user of HomeKit. So let's just pull it up. See, it's not even set up properly. Default room, you have the studio, automation, speakers and TV, right? I'm just going to try it here. Web OS, LG TV, Apple TV, a Studio, HomePod Mini. Nope, it actually isn't showing up, Elvin. So thanks for the question. Important for some people to know, I guess, right? But yep, it doesn't show up on HomeKit. Cool. Okay, so let's talk about modularity. Now, when you buy this soundbar, okay, this is all that you're going to get, right? The soundbar, 3.1 channel, one unit on itself. How it's going to appear at home is just this unit right here, okay? 950 mm wide unit, and that's it, okay? Everything that you need to hear sound is actually encapsulated in this whole soundbar itself. You don't get the subwoofer and you don't get any surround speakers. Some of the lower end models or the low end series or some other manufacturers will come equipped, right? When you buy a soundbar, it comes with the subwoofer and it comes with the surround. But usually what happens is that the subwoofer and the surround is a pretty basic offering. They don't give a lot to the entire, they don't contribute a lot to the entire experience. They are probably not as well matched, and even if you don't want the subwoofer, you can't choose not to have the subwoofer. If you don't need the rear surround, you also can't choose not to have the rear surround. Now, I have seen some houses, some setups, right, where they are putting the rear surround speakers next to the soundbar. And if you've seen that before, the answer is always to why do you do that is always invariably, oh, because I don't have space, or maybe my couch is in the middle of the room, or the back wall is really too far away, so they can't put it there, and they end up putting the surround speakers right in the front, which is not ideal. All right, I would say that you are probably better off not putting the surround speakers there than putting the surround speakers in the wrong place, because the whole sound stage will get pretty messed up, right? So the A3000, you're just buying the soundbar. If you don't need the surround, don't get the surround. If you don't need the subwoofer, don't get the subwoofer, right? The A3000 is marketed as having built-in subwoofer. So if you don't have a subwoofer built-in, if you don't have a subwoofer add-on, the optional subwoofer, you are able to control low, mid, high response from the two built-in subwoofers. They are really small, really tiny. It won't produce subsonic bass capabilities. So just manage your expectations there a little bit. But yes, you will be able to get away with it, right? It is probably good enough for that. Now, I have to talk about the options that you're going to get. So what I currently have hooked up and suitably paired to the A3000 is this speaker here. So this is a rear surround speaker. Actually, you can see, all right, I'm able to catch the light in such a way. You have a small tweeter and you have a small overlish mid-bass driver, right? So this mid-bass driver is actually tiny, small, and you have a port here. So this is a ported design. It's pretty light construction. It looks well made, right? There's a metal grill that covers it, non-removable. But that's all. There is a power button at the back. There is a link button at the back. This is a quarter 20 thread, right? Where you are able to mount it on the wall or on the ceiling as per necessary. But you will need to run this power cable. So this is a figure of 8 IEC power cable, which then goes to your wall. And basically it does its job. It is a surround speaker. So this is the SARS3S, okay? And it is a simple surround speaker. Now, when I say that there are upward firing channels, right? This soundbar itself, the A3000, does not have upward firing channels for immerse effect or DTS:X effect. Okay, it is simulated, right? But how do you add overhead? How do you add real, actual upward firing speaker effects? And that will be this, the SARS5. Now the SARS5, in terms of size comparison, you can see is quite a lot larger, right? And you will notice that I don't have a cable attached to it, right? There is a charging cord. Now, just bear in mind that the RS5, okay, it actually uses a wall wart, right? So this is like a charger. You need this wall wart here because it's actually battery powered, right? So nothing connected, or you could leave it connected, of course, but nothing connected right now. And I can turn it on. I can power it on. So you can see it has a built-in battery. It's a 10-hour rated battery. So technically, you can leave it at the front, right? If you don't have space to deploy them, you keep it charged and plugged in all the time. And when you need to play a movie that requires the surround speaker, you can then unplug it, right? And it's still powered on, and you can move it around to wherever you need it so that you can enjoy the whole surround sound effect without having to run this cable at all, right? So no need for power. Now there are brackets at the back which will enable you to wall mount them as well. But otherwise, yeah, this is it, right? And there is a power button at the top. There's a sound field, I think it says optimize, right? But basically when you click optimize, it runs the sound field optimization, which is a pretty cool effect. So you don't even need the remote, you don't even need the app to do that anymore. Let me get back. Yep. Okay, this is slightly more interesting. And so for all you gamers out there, I have been gaming extensively on the GT7. This is on the PS5. Basically, the sound effects, the car engines, the roar, your competitor's car, they are really coming from behind you. And the roar of the engine is actually suitably replicated and recreated by the subwoofer that I have here. Now this is the larger subwoofer. I'll get to the subwoofer in just a little bit, but basically let me just talk about this and finish talking about this RS5. So the RS5 has upward firing speakers. So if you, let me catch the light, okay? So you will see that there is actually a cone right on top of the speaker, right? And it will fire upwards. It's angled pretty aggressively. I would say it's about 70 degrees off the horizontal. A lot of Sonos fans, they have actually been asking for a speaker from Sonos, like the Sonos One, right? That will enable you to cast surround sound. Because, like for example, the Beam Gen 2, they don't actually have upward firing channels at all. And if you want upward firing channel, you need to get the Sonos Arc. But if you don't get the Sonos Arc, how do you get upward firing? So something like this will actually help. Now, even if you have the Sonos Arc, having upward firing channels at the rear means that you can have a say 7.1 or 7.2.4, right? So 0.4, the last number, being the heights channel, and you can have 4, right? Top front left, top front right, top back, top rear left, and top rear right. Okay, that terminology is always getting into me. This is a much more powerful sound, and the whole front is covered with some hard-wearing fabric. So it looks a lot more premium, and it's definitely way larger and way heavier than the regular RS3S. Now, you might also be wondering, how do we know which is left and which is right? So one thing that I realized after using this for a while is that Sony has actually marked out, okay? So you will see that this is a rear left and the other speaker is a rear right. And the same goes for the RS3S, right? They actually mark it out here as well. So this is a rear right and the other one will be a rear left. So you just have to position it accordingly. Right and left rear means that when you're facing the TV, right is on your right hand and left is on your left hand. Sounds pretty obvious when I say it, but the number of times that I've been confused by that, well, yeah, it does happen. Okay, we'll chat a little bit, maybe not about Sonos in a while, but we'll talk about other things. Okay, maybe talk about my new studio build, if you guys are interested. But let me just dedicate a little bit more time to the A3000 and its modular concept, right? So modular concept. Okay, so this is the subwoofer. Now, this big black box here is a subwoofer. Now I'm going to give you an impression, right, of how large this subwoofer is. It's actually large and heavy. All right, so now I'm getting in position. There's definitely a power cord that's built into it. Okay, and this is the entire size of it. It is not a light subwoofer. It's definitely pretty big. The material is actually well made, and it is like a plastic, but like fox leather, like a just very premium look with a small Sony logo. Now, the construction of this is actually like a sealed subwoofer. There's a front firing speaker cone and there's a bottom bass radiator. Now, if you look at this picture right here, right, the one that is facing the front, that is an active driver. The one that is facing downwards, where all these slots are, right, you can reach your hand inside. You can actually touch the passive radiator. Just take a listen to it. Okay, that's the passive radiator, and the passive radiator basically seals the entire cabinet here, but it allows for some give, some movement, right? When you're firing a heavy bass note and you need to move a lot of air. If it is entirely sealed, then the whole piston will find it difficult to move, and you probably need a lot more power to move. The passive radiator gives it some space, some breathing room, so that it's able to move the cone more freely, right? And you don't need so much power. Now, the SW5 is actually rated at 300 watts of power. There's a smaller version right here, which is the SW3. Now, the SW3 is actually a ported subwoofer, right? There are drivers right at the front, at the top, and this is actually the port, right? And ported subwoofers, they are a little bit more efficient. They go a little bit louder for the same power, and this allows the subwoofer to create bass at just about 200 watts of power, just with 200 watts of power. Now, I actually paired the SW5 with the A3000 and thought it was a little bit of an overkill. In fact, there were times that I actually moved the subwoofer output to level 4. Now, just bear in mind the scale is from 1 to 12. By default, it's at 8. I move it to 6 most of the time. Sometimes bass heavy tracks or later nights, I actually move it down to a 4, right? Because I think this is slightly overpowered if you're going for the A3000. Okay, so basically, being modular, you can choose either of these subwoofers to pair with the A3000 depending on your needs. But that is basically my recommendation. I think that SW3 will actually work for the A3000 itself. Okay, and let's talk about the combinations then, right? So you have the A3000 soundbar and you have the RS3S. All right, this forms a surround channel, surround setup, all right, without the subwoofer, and then you can pair in the SW3 subwoofer, and it should give you a full immersive 5.1 setup for a relatively good price. It's still pricey, right? Because this subwoofer, this soundbar itself is retailing at 1,299, but Sony Days end year promotion at 1,099. If you apply the promo code, and this is the promo code here, you'll be able to get the HT-A3000 at $100 off. So basically, it goes down to $999 for the Sony A3000 soundbar itself. Now, if you add in this particular RS3 surround speakers, they go for 449 Singapore dollars, right? And you pair in the subwoofer, not this one, basically the SW3, it goes for 499. So 499 for that subwoofer is decently priced. It's not very expensive. In fact, it's rather affordable, right? But overall, you're going to end up with a system that costs just shy of $2,000, right? Now, I'll talk a little bit more about the promotion, and I think that there's a way to actually game the promotion in just a little bit, right? I'll talk to that in a while, right? Now, the other option that you have is, of course, to pair the A3000 with the RS5 that has upward firing speakers. Now, why do you do that? Because The A3000 itself doesn't have upward firing channels, no upward firing speakers. The RS5 will actually provide the upward firing speakers, and then you can pair it with the SW5, and that creates a very large sounding setup for your living room, right? So if you use the smaller setup, this is probably suitable for a small living room, a family room, or a bedroom, right? But if you go for this killer setup, right, it will fill a much larger space, and it will actually have dedicated upward firing speakers. And this subwoofer is actually one heck of a subwoofer. It is actually loud, and it provides a lot of rumble. Okay, so being modular, you can select any of the subwoofers, you can select any of the surround speakers, well actually either the RS3 or the RS5, or you can select any of the subwoofers, either the SW3 or the SW5, SW5 being the one that I have right here on display to my left right now. Okay, let's talk a little bit about pricing. Now in general, you know, I'm sure you guys are good at finding out discounts and finding the best way and the best deals out in the market. We have no shortage of Lazadas and discount coupons and promotions with the banks that you can probably score a very good deal for yourself. But today, I did speak to Sony Singapore, and we created this discount code, right? And I have not actually seen the HT-A3000 go for this price at all, right? So there's a discount code right here, right? Peter 100 off. Peter 100 off will give you a $100 discount on the Sony HT-A3000 soundbar, right? Oh God, we do have spam right now. How do I delete all these spam comments? Let me very quickly just hide user first. Sorry guys, I do get those kind of stuff. Okay. Yep. So Peter 100 off. Oh, thanks Elvin. Thanks Elvin for reporting it. Yeah. Sorry, where was I? Yeah, Peter 100 off will give you a $100 discount, bringing the price of the HT-A3000 soundbar from 1099, which is about 1001, all the way to 999, just $1 shy of $1,000, right? Not cheap, okay? Not insignificant amount of money, but for the technology, for its capabilities, for the sound that it's capable of delivering, it is actually a very decently priced soundbar, right? You're not getting something that is 2 feet wide or a small soundbar. You're getting actually is quite a heft of a soundbar, right? Given how long it is, and length in creating a soundstage is actually important for soundbars, right? So the longer the soundbar, the better, given that you need to have the space to deploy it, right? So you can scan this QR code. If you scan this QR code, it should take you to the store. Let me see. It should take you to this page right here. Okay. This will be the correct page. It's not a product specific page, right? Why? Because the $100 off discount actually applies to a few product combinations, right? So if you scroll down the page, I'll just go straight to the one. This is the A3000, right? So the A3000 soundbar is $199. If you add it to cart, okay, which I have already done earlier, pardon everything else that I've added in for the moment, okay, and if you do a checkout, not that I'm buying all of this, I'm just showing you where you should place the discount code. Okay, sorry. Okay, so this is the discount code here, and if you could do Peter 100 off, okay, we apply it. Yep, there you go. Okay, the $100 discount is split across all applicable products, right? So I have 2 soundbars here that is applicable to. You can't buy 2 soundbars and get $200 off. The $100 off is for 1 soundbar, right? So I can remove one of them and it will be a full $100 discount off the A3000. Okay, so this is where you enter the discount code. All right. Now, very quickly, there was a catch in this whole thing. Now, if you look at the pricing, the soundbar itself is $1,000. The surround speakers, this RS3S, is $459, and the smaller sub is $499. Now, you add this all up. I'm just going to quickly add up 459 plus 499. It comes out to $1,957. So $1,957, it gets you the soundbar, it gets you the surround speakers, and it gets you the smaller subwoofer. Okay? Because it's modular, we'll talk about something else. There's a Sony HT-A3000. It's a 4-feet soundbar, basically as long as the Sonos are, right? And it has upward firing speakers built into the soundbar. If you look at the corners of the soundbar, those rectangular boxes on top of the soundbar, those house the upward firing speakers. And it costs a lot more, right? So instead of $1,000, this is like $1,400, right? But you still are able to get a discount on it, okay? So if I were to pull out, where is this? Okay, we have the, yep, so it's 1,499, okay? After the $100 discount, it's 1,399, which is about 1,004. At 1,004, okay, and if you pair it with a subwoofer, it could be the SW3, the smaller one, which costs $499. So 1,399 plus 499, you're getting it for 1,898. Okay, let's see whether I got it here. Yep. If you pair it with a smaller subwoofer, this particular one here, this one here, the smaller one here, is $499. This combination, or this combination with the larger subwoofer, is going to get you a free pair of the RS3S surround speakers. So these are the smaller surround speakers. The free speaker is not the larger battery powered surround with upward firing speakers. No, it's the regular smaller size RS3S. Okay, and it is free. This is $459 in value, right? And this combination itself, so you're getting the A5000 plus the SW3 plus the RS3S for 1,898, which is actually less than the A3000 plus the SW3 plus the RS3S. So if you ask me, you can take advantage of this deal, right? And the Peter 100 off actually applies to this combination as well. So if you go to the website, I'm just going to browse to it. Okay, let's see if here. Let's take a look at the A5000. Where do I get the A5000? Here's the A5000. Okay, 1,499 minus $100 off. This combination here, A5000 alone, A5000 plus SW3, A5000 plus SW5, okay? Whichever combination you decide you end up choosing, you are able to get $100 off. So this is the particular combination I'm talking about. So after $100 off, 1,898, you are then able to get a free pair of the surround speakers. Okay? So I think this is probably a hack that I'm suggesting that you take advantage of, which actually lends it a lot better value than getting the A3000 and paying for the SW3 subwoofer and paying for the RS3S surround speakers, right? Buying the A5000 paired with the SW3 subwoofer will actually lend you a free pair of RS3S. So I think this is a pretty good deal. Today's video, today's live stream is about sharing my thoughts with about the HT-A3000, but I just cannot help noticing that the A5000 is actually a much better value when you buy it together with the bundled sub, because it gives a free RS3S surround speaker. So if that is something that you are considering, I think do take advantage of this offer. The discount code, right? Basically, this particular code here, I'm going to share again. Yep. This code here, the promo code, Peter100 off, is going to be valid until the end of 2nd January 2023, right? So from today, from now, until the end of Monday, right, you're able to get the $100 off. And this is a limited period discount. We won't be able to replicate it, well, unless I can negotiate another live stream or another time that we can do this. But otherwise, the discount code will be valid until 2nd Jan, end of day. No further extension. Okay, so let's see if there's any other questions that any of you have. I will be happy to take the questions, or maybe I could just show you my driving skills. Oh, incidentally, this is a Sony PS5. Okay, no, I don't want to show you my progress. I actually suck very badly at driving, so not a good showcase of my abilities. Okay, now I did notice one thing though, right? Before coming on the stream, I went to the website, okay, and I did a search. Now, most of the things that I've talked about today, they are actually available from the Sony Singapore store, except for the SW5. Okay, so this SW5 here is going for $999. I think a couple of days ago I saw it going for $799, or maybe up to just hours ago I saw it going for $799. But the problem is it is now out of stock, right? You can't see it here. It's actually dark gray on the black button background, but it's out of stock. But if you do decide to buy it, okay, and if you want to apply the discount, right, basically it is this here, right? If you buy A5000 with the SW5, just go to the live chat here, okay, and basically it opens up WhatsApp. Okay, I won't launch WhatsApp here. Just go to live chat and say that you are actually buying this through my live stream, and they will still honor the discount of $100 off this combination set, even if they don't have the stock for it right now. Okay, I did check with Sony just hours ago, right, prior to this. So, yep, that's it. Looks like I've covered most of what I wanted to cover. Maybe just a very quick one before we go on to some chit chat. Right, the A3000. When I first tested it, when I first did the video review on the A3000 about 6 weeks ago, right? In fact, I had it for like 8 weeks already, right? But I had to do some testing. I was watching a movie. It's called Spiderhead. If you guys watch my video review, I actually talk about that movie. The sound engineering, the audio engineering is actually superb. It was a very boring movie, but made acceptable because of great audio engineering. And the A3000 actually excels in delivering dialogue, delivering audio, dialogue, right, through the center channel. And most of the time, I never found myself having to increase the volume, reduce the volume, because the dialogue was too soft at some points, and movie effects, the sound effects were too loud at other points. It actually did very, very well. Over the last couple of days, in fact, I was gaming extensively, and even for games, when I have the surround channel set up already, and these are connected, green light means connected, right? When I have it set up already, I was able to get audio cues as to where the cars are, right? If there's a car coming from my rear right, I was able to pick it up. Now, even if you don't have the surround speakers, the soundstage from the A3000 itself is actually wide enough for you to get a good sensing of the soundstage, and they have the vertical surround pro and the whole surround engine coming from just the soundbar itself. It actually produces a pretty convincing surround soundscape. All right, so that's how far soundbars have come in general. So if you pay premium, and this is kind of premium price to pay for a soundbar, because you can definitely get very cheap soundbars for a couple of $100, right? $300-400. It comes bundled with surround speakers. It comes bundled with a wireless subwoofer even, but those won't be top-notch performance. Now this guy is not cheap, but it's great value for money, right? Because it's something that I can see myself using for the long term. Now the next stream that if I want to do, will actually be on the A5000. Now the A5000 differs in terms of slightly in terms of feature set, right? There's a true high-res audio at 96 kilohertz sampling rates. There's an HDMI input port. There is also much larger size, more drivers, outward firing drivers, and but there's something else about the A5000, which if I do, I'll talk a bit about that in a future video. Right, but meanwhile, yes, I'm happy that I am in the Sony camp now. Not that I'm abandoning any sound manufacturer, any soundbar manufacturers. I'm still sporting my Sonos soundbars. I still have the Bose soundbars, and I still want to maintain a neutral position and evaluate each of these soundbars for its own merits. It's going to be very hard, right, when we want to answer questions like which is better, right? Is the Sony better? Is the Sonos better? Is the Bose better? There usually isn't a clear-cut answer to that. So all I can tell you and share with you is how I feel, how I best experience, how do I say that? How I experience the soundbar on its own, right? And inevitably, there will be some comparisons here and there. I do believe that every manufacturer, every soundbar has its advantage, has its disadvantage, has its shortcomings, has its strengths and weaknesses. So, yeah, I hope this new room setup will help me evaluate all the products that I'm evaluating a little bit more objectively, a little bit more in a more standardized manner, because it is now a fixed position, and I don't have to put things in the middle of the room. If I pan up a little bit, you'll see some of my lights, you'll see some of my mic mounting, right? I have my mics here and there, just to give you a slight flavor, right? So all the equipment here, the measuring rig and everything is all there, right? And yeah, okay, so I've been online for slightly over an hour. Let me hang on for a couple of more minutes, maybe a minute or two, if you guys have any questions that you would like to ask on this particular channel about the Sony HT-A3000. I'll be happy to answer. I'll still put this video up, right? This is the last video I'm making for 2022, on the last day of December, or last day of the year, no less. And if you have any questions, you can also edit in the comment section in the video description, in the video below the video, right? And I will be able to help answer. Even if I can't answer it directly, I can get in touch with Sony to see whether I can get the correct answer for you, right? But otherwise, I think for the rest of the day, for the rest of the year, I will probably get to some gaming, all right? Okay, so if there are no other questions, I truly thank everybody for your time. Thanks for being patient with me. I know I haven't been putting up any videos for December. I had a good break. I went on a holiday with my family, with my kids, with my wife. I spent a lot of time doing and managing the renovations. The project management was a nightmare, but I did have help. I will talk about the whole studio build in a separate video. There are a couple of things I do want to share with you. Oh, Elvin, you're still around. Wait, Elvin, thank you very much for staying throughout the entire video. I really appreciate this. All right, so thanks everybody, and I will see you in the next video and in the new year. Meanwhile, hope you had a good holiday and Happy New Year to you.